Hi, this is Donna Hawk. I'm here to discuss a little bit about how to get started upcycling with clothing you may have, clothing you may be given because it doesn't fit somebody. You don't want to throw it away, and you only need so many rags in the house, so what are you going to do? Well, you can upcycle it. You can make it into something new that fits you perfectly or as good as you want it to fit you, and is made out of stuff that you're keeping out of the landfill. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do, and I'd like to help you get started today. Okay, so some of the things that you've probably seen pictures of, like what we posted on the Facebook page, were generally starting with blue jeans. There's a lot of blue jeans out there. Maybe the legs are too ripped up for you to do anything with, but you still want to have some fun with them. Well, you can take the blue jeans, and in this case, this is a pair that I was given that was way too small for me. And I split the leg seam all the way down, and I measured how much I needed extra. I took extra fabric that I had from another project, and I filled in with a full panel. Once I get the other panel done, I'll have a pair of jeans that are personalized and that fit me perfectly.
Do you just use extra denim on the top for the band as
Yep,
well?
what I did was, because the waistband gets so much stress, I actually took a piece of denim from another pair of pants and I stitched it up at the top in the same size and shape as the other waistband. This way, I've got the stress protection and it kind of fills in a little bit. It's not going to fool anybody into thinking it was original, but I think this kind of gives it away already. So I'm good with that. Hi there, welcome. So that's one way you can take something that's too small, and you can do this for kids also, although kids usually grow up instead of out, but you can always, you know, as a kid I never did appreciate ruffles on the bottom of my pants leg, but you can do things like get real edgy and cut at an angle and insert fabric into those angles. You can use some of people's shirts. You can use parts of another denim jean that is a different color. There's lots of things you can do to extend the pants so they'll continue fitting for a little bit longer. Okay. And this shows you some of that process of making the panels. It's just little bitty scraps of fabric that I stitched together. This can also be used for making bracelets or something like that. When you take apart a shirt, you're left with shirt cuffs. So you can use that as the base for a bracelet if you want to. You can also attach it to other garments. So when I'm taking apart my blue jeans, I generally start by cutting the legs off. That's going to give me, unless they're the real ripped up ones, that's going to give me the most fabric I can work with. And that's going to leave me with, you know, the top part here. And like in this case, I decided I wanted to use the back part and make just a little bag out of it. So that's using this complete piece. I'm going to sew that up. And then with this piece, if I wanted to, I could also fold it over and make another small bag. I don't like big bags. You could have left it all together and just stitched up the bottom if you wished. You could also add fabric to the bottom if you wish. So there's a lot of things you can do to make use of this very usable fabric that's up at the top. I got some denim, some Carhartts, and these Carhartts were such that the person who was using them was wearing them out right here at the front crotch area. So there's no really fixing that without it showing. And most guys don't want to wear stuff that's visibly mended like that. So I got them for free. They were going to get thrown away. So first I cut the legs off. And then I decided I was going to harvest the pockets. So I've cut off pockets here, right close to the seam. And this way I can take that and attach it to anything like an applique. Still got the pocket back to it, so it's totally usable. And I can just use those anywhere. I've seen some people make like organizer hangings with pockets all over them. And then when I was done with that, in this case, I cut the back off, and I'm just once again going to sew it up into a purse So I've got all these pockets still saved. I've got the zipper that I can use that for a little side pocket if I want. So very little of these jeans are going to go to waste. And this is what a back looks like with the pockets I'll save. Once more, there's not much fabric there that's going to waste, and even this can be used with some patchwork and stuff. You can use a little bit more of that without throwing it away.
And would you use that waistband?
Oh, sure.
Again, like for, if you're gonna do jeans, you could patch in, stuff like that.
You can use it to patch in whenever you're expanding pants because they're too small around. You can use it at the top of a bag. If you're making a heavy duty bag, you can put a bunch of them together so that, you know, it doesn't matter that they don't all match, it's the strength of the fabric that you're worried about. And if it's just an everyday bag for toting stuff, it doesn't matter if you take and you just overlap them like this and stitch across. You don't have to make a seam. Most sewing machines might be able to handle that. Doing something like that, they won't be able to handle. So you want to be careful of that. And this is a shout out to vintage sewing machines. A lot of the denim work I do with a 50, 60, 70-year-old machine now. It's from the 1950s, and it's very, very sturdy. And I think it started choking a little bit when I got to 7 layers of denim.
Wow.
I was having to kind of ease it through that. But 4 layers, no problem, it just chunked right through it. And most modern machines, as we all know, they can't do it. So I highly recommend adopting a vintage machine, if only for this kind of work. You want fancy stitches, get yourself a new machine. But if you want a workhorse, get an older machine. And there's lots of folks, there's even Facebook pages where you can go to learn how to refurbish and maintain a vintage machine. All right, something else that we talk about when we're upcycling is shirts. And I didn't bring any shirts that had not yet been upcycled, but just to show you, what I do is I cut off all of the seams, and like this is a front panel here with all the seams cut off. We've got a lot of fabric there. I like the men's extra large shirts if I can get them. Here's the yoke. There's 2 layers on the yoke, so we've got a lot of fabric there. And then we've also got, if you decide to save it, you've got the collar and the button band. Button band can definitely be used on something else, like a skirt or something like that. Collar can be used either on the garment, another garment, or you can use it to make a piece of jewelry again. Make a collar piece. Just however crazy you want to get. It's not like you're going to be spoiling something you spent money on. Okay, so besides cutting down the front and back, taking all the seams out with the sleeves, you have, once more, a lot more fabric than you think you're going to have. And you've got a panel right here that's got the button on it and it's already finished. So you might think about using that in your project. If you want to do something that's got a pocket you can reach into, then it's already got that set up for you. So what else? Let's see. Oh, so besides clothing, another thing that I like to rescue is sheets and things. I found a sheet that had a rip in it. And this looks huge because I'm oversized myself and I like comfortable. But I made myself the beginnings of a tunic and nice full sleeves because I like them that way. And I've started using this shirt. I applied the wristband to it, moved the button over because it was a bit too big. But, you know, it goes very, very well with this. I'm going to put a couple of pockets on it, use the other cuff on this end, put something around the neck so that it will look more than, you know, if you've ever made anything where it had just one fabric on it, it looks plain, it looks homemade. When you can do something like this, it looks more like something you might have spent money on. Okay, so another thing we talk about is t-shirts. Everybody's got t-shirts, right? So I've got a t-shirt and it's got this big old stain on it. I have tried, I cannot get that stain out. I'm not going to be able to wear this shirt as is. So what can I do with it? Well, I can cut it for rags, or I can make TShirt yarn. Now I was asking if you knit it or anything. This can be used to knit or crochet, and I'll let you play with that. Here. So the way to do that, though, it's real simple. You lay out your t-shirt and you set it up so that you've got a gap right here. Here's the top layer, here's the bottom one. That gap's important. We're gonna make a continuous piece of yarn from the lower half of this shirt. If I can find where my scissors went. There they are. So I'm gonna start by taking off the hem. Well, I'm not sure if I'm taking it off too good, but it's okay. And then I'm going to take about 2 fingers. I'm going to cut kind of messy cut, but cut all the way up to the first fold and just past it and then stop. I'm going to do that most of the way up here fairly quickly. Now, if you want it to stay real carefully similar in size, you can mark these out with a ruler and use a chalk marker to make sure that they're all pretty much the same size. But the t-shirt yarn can be used to make bags, baskets, lots of other things. And I'm just going to take this much of it. So what happens is we've cut our strips. And we take and separate it at the connecting side. And right here at the join, we're going to come up at an angle and cut loose the first loop. Then we're going to come at the same angle and cut the second loop. And continue through the t-shirt. Don't worry about that little jog you see. It will not matter when you get to the end. Okay, so from that body of that t-shirt, we've got all of this. And to use it, we pull, and it naturally curls to the inside. So we just tug it, and it makes it even a little bit longer. But instead of a t-shirt with a big old stain on it, I now have some yarn. I can crochet, like I said, baskets, a pot cover for some house plants, make a rug, any number of things. And depending on what t-shirts you've got, you don't have to take them at the color they're at. If you've got a bunch of stained old white t-shirts, there's a lot of dyes you can use these days to dye in bright colors in the washing machine, and so they can be any color you want. Have a look at that. Okay, so once you're done with the body of the t-shirt, generally I'll take the sleeves off, get rid of the seams, and we have those extra pieces of t-shirt available that can be used for any number of smaller projects. Just because it's small, it doesn't have to be thrown away. You can like do small stuffed dolls or toy animals and things like that to give away to children. Lots of things can be done with that. Okay, moving right along. Another thing you can do with the Carhartt jeans, when I took the pants legs off, I really liked the look of this khaki, and I wanted to do something like a vest out of it. So what I did was, the reason rather I chose that I wanted to do this is this has got 2 of the really nice seams on it, which most pants only have 1, but this had both of them. So I chose to split the pants leg halfway down the back to get this really nice looking panel that's got the double seams on it. Now I've got 2 of those with the pants legs, but where do I go from here? Well, if you're not a professional sewer and you don't have a bunch of patterns at home and stuff like that, you can use an existing garment. This is a favorite little vest, and it still fits me on the back, but the front just isn't quite meeting anymore. So what I plan on doing with this is to join the fabric up and lay it out, see where the side seams are, put side panels and use part of the pants for the front, and make my own vest using this as the pattern for it. Besides the actual sizing, you can get the shape for the sleeve by laying it out to where it's going straight down on the fabric, so you can see what shape you need to do for the armholes. You can even, you know, lay it down and then go a little bit more and follow around the sleeve or the armhole to get that fold so that it's going to fit properly on you. So you don't need to buy a pattern as long as you've got a piece of a garment that actually fits, kind of. Okay, any questions right now? Okay, this one's gone a little bit faster than usual because it's more like I'm just giving ideas than anything else. Like I was saying, we've got the waistbands can be harvested to be used. The pockets can be harvested to use. You can also take the zippers out if there's nothing else salvageable. There are folks who use these as parts of jewelry also. Sometimes they cut it real close to the teeth and hot glue it on. Other times they will actually pick the threads away so they can have the whole zipper to use it for the jewelry. One other thing to keep in mind when you're picking things for a recycle project or an upcycle project is, do they look good together? So in this case, I was looking for fabrics that would go with the maroon of the sheet that I found. I found this shirt, this one here. It's a deeper maroon, but still it's a nice look. And then this kind of a stripy thing. It's a different maroon, but if I put it between these and not next to the solid right away, you can see how these all work together to go into one project. I'm looking for the skirt. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, and in keeping with the theme of got something but it's too small for me, this is another pair of pants. This is some 501 button down. So I love the button down part, and it seemed a shame to lose that with these. So I decided to make a skirt out of it, and I'm going to put tiers of fabric down below, but it was too small for me. So once more, I cut it apart, and in this case,
those are strips of denim from further down the
correct.
jean
This
leg.
is denim from the same pants leg because
okay.
it was going to be a larger area. I decided to use the same denim.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any extra waistband on this. So what I did was, this is actually part of the inner leg seam that I had cut off. And I don't care that it's fraying here. It's not going to bother me a bit. But I took the upper edge of this fabric, tucked it inside, and stitched it down, and then stitched that to the existing waistband. So I've got an area that's not going to stretch as badly as just this plain unprotected denim would.
So is there any consideration for like the direction of the grain on the fabric? Like if you're doing denim, do you have to keep the denim all facing the same direction, if you know what I mean?
Well, the up and down matters because denim generally stretches in one direction but not the other.
Okay.
It generally stretches in the width.
Okay.
So I took the pants leg piece, and this is a straight piece from the pants leg further down.
So the same direction as
So it's the same direction as these pieces right
I
here.
see, yeah.
So if it's going to stretch, it's going to be this way.
Yeah.
Now this pants seam, this seam thing is sideways, but then so is the waistband fabric.
Sure, oh, I see, yeah.
So it's got all this stitching, this existing stitching in it. So it's already heavily reinforced, so I don't have to worry that much about whether it's going to give or not.
Mm.
And I'll be reinforcing these seams up at the part where it joins very, very carefully with extra threads to make sure that it stays. And one thing that's a pet peeve for me with these, and like you can see right here, this is the panel where I'm setting it in, but it's just halfway done. But a pet peeve of mine is when they take apart this part, they take under the seam and then they do it to where this is all wonky going off to the side.
Yeah.
I hate that look. So personally, I'm not going to do that. In this case, I'm actually going to start the fabric that's going to go at the bottom of the skirt just right below the fly, so that you won't see that at all. And that's how I'm going to get around that, because that always annoys me when I see a pattern, it looks nice, and you've got this wonky thing going on right there. So other than that, you know, it's great. We've got the 501 detailing, we've got the pockets. It's all nice. And I just figure out what fabric I'm going to put below it. Do I want it to be knee length, mid calf, all the way to the ground? The choice is yours, and it just depends on how much fabric you've got to work with.
And can you just layer on separate tiers of fabric and you just sew each tier together? You don't need like an underlayer that goes the whole length.
It depends.
Okay.
If you want the tiers to each flutter be separate, you have to have something for them to attach to.
Sure, yeah.
In which case you'd have something, and it can be something as simple as a sheet. So it doesn't have, you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of fabric, go find a queen size sheet, you've got plenty of fabric there. And then you can just ruffle it up and attach it to that. Or if you wish, you can do the bit where you can, generally you start at the bottom and you figure out how much fabric you want at the bottom and just sew a strip. And if you're doing it with these, you could do it where you'd cut them into the strips and lay them out. You know, here's your strip, you stitch it together, you come down here, you add another strip.
And why would you start at the bottom, you said?
Because you're working your way up, and you want to make sure that you have enough fabric to have it all the way around the bottom, as big as you want it to be.
Okay.
And then you're going to be stitching the header for this to the bottom of the next row. If you start at the top and it's too full, it's going to be huge by the time you get halfway down the piece.
Sure, okay.
In my experience, it's better to start from the bottom up. But if you've got a pattern that you're working from, or especially if you've got a skirt that, you know, I don't ever trip in this thing, so this diameter is a good one for me. So I'd lay this down and use this to work from to make sure I wasn't getting too big or too small. But, you know, like I was saying, you just make this long strip, however long it needs to be, gather it up and stitch it to the next layer up, and just work your way up until you're ready to attach it to the jeans. Or if you want to do it the other way, work down, set it up, and, well, honestly, if you're ruffling and you're attaching, you want to have a base on it because, like I said, if you're starting from the top down, it's going to be too full and it's going to be huge very, very quickly, unless it's what you're after. Alrighty, so got the skirt, we've got parts as parts. And once more, what I did here with the pants, this can be something that you can totally do with the shirt fabrics too. You don't have to buy, like I used this for a quilt, so you don't have to have anything specially made. You could easily do the same technique here. This is called crumb patchwork. It's really easy to do. There's no pattern to it. It's just, you sew stuff onto it, you cut off the extras, and you keep going till you're done. So you definitely, you know, if I was doing crumb patchwork with this, I would just cut it up into a bunch of pieces, a bunch of strips maybe about that wide, and just start stitching it together with the other pieces. Cut off the extras, grab it later to put it somewhere else, and then you've got your patchwork. So that's something also you can do if you're making a piece like you've got a panel on this side that's this fabric, and maybe this fabric over here. You could make a panel going up here that's a patchwork of all of these fabrics together. And once more, even instead of having a bunch of big fabrics that don't look like they really go with each other, you've got a patchwork panel here that brings it all together and makes it look like you might have actually spent money on it. That's kind of my criteria with stuff like this. It's fun to just do crazy stuff, but I'd like to make something that somebody thinks I bought.
Yeah.
Okay. One other thing to keep in mind when you are upcycling fabrics is the thickness of the fabric. For instance, with this one right here, it's actually got a secondary piece of fabric that it's quilted to. And it's still much lighter weight than the denim. So I'm going to be very careful to top stitch the seams to make sure that this doesn't give way, because the denim isn't going to give. This is going to be what gives first. So I'll make sure and top stitch those seams well. But if I'm making something, you know, the denim's not responding the same way this is. If it's a shirt, then that's going to look a little bit awkward. So you want to make sure and select your fabrics so that they all scrunch up pretty much the same, so that they have the same general feel to them. And that way you're going to make a shirt that you're not going to have this piece stiff and everything else is limp or drapey.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Can I find out what you're doing with this leather piece?
Yes.
The leather looking
Okay.
piece?
Well, that's
Sorry,
that for
unless
last.
you were going to get to that.
No, I was saving that for last, or actually next to last. I've got this too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is yet another thing. This is a bed skirt. And this can be made into a top with an extra panel up above. So you can have some cute little embroidery on the top. You can make it into a skirt. You can make it into a dress, because heaven knows there's plenty of fabric here. So, you know, sheets and things like bed protectors or bed skirts. These are all very useful. And then with the bed skirt, I also wound up with this huge amount of white fabric that was also usable. So that was $4, I think. Okay, so this was a special situation that you may run into periodically. When you do, it's a score. This was a case where one of my favorite online groups is called Freecycle. Freecycle, like a bicycle, only free. And it's where people offer things that are too good to throw away, but they don't have any use for it. It's absolutely free. You just show up and you pick it up. This was a furniture business that had gone out of business. This lady had boxes of the shell covers that was to go on the furniture. I got a trunk load of this for $20. And when you just look at this piece here, what have I got? I've got this big old zipper here. Let's see if I can get it to go. So I've got a zipper, I've got Velcro, and I've got good leather. So I've got here a handbag, at least one full handbag if I'm making a huge one, or two smaller handbags. Extra leather for something else, because I've got the center type leather. This is very soft. And I've got the printed leather, which is a little bit firmer. All I have to do is undo the seams and separate these pieces. And I've got a lot of each of them, or if I leave it together, in this case, because it's not square, it might not work so well for making a pillow top out of it as is, but you could consider it if you didn't mind not being a square pillow. And then you still got the salvage zipper and the Velcro and the fabric that's on the back. So there's a heck of a lot of salvage to come out of this, and you can have some fun with it. So Freecycle, I highly recommend signing up with Freecycle, because listen, now what have I done? I've gotten rid of a television I didn't need. I've gotten, most recently, gardening tools. I got some computer speakers, and what else did I get most recently? Oh, an ironing board and an iron, all free, and they were all in great shape. So, you know, if nothing else, even if you're not after something, keep an eye out and sign up with all the local ones. I've signed up with Spanish Fork, Provo, Payson, Salt Lake City, and Orem. And, you know, just check the emails when they come out and see what's on offer. It doesn't happen very often. Maybe once a month I see something that I can use. There's always furniture and stuff being given away. bookcases, tables, chairs, stuff like that. Okay, so I think
That's called Freecycle.
Free, Freecycle. It's an organization, and it's all over. Just sign up, and they've got like a landing page where you can choose which of your groups you want to look at. They've got offers and wanted. If you need something seriously, you can post wanted, and ask for if anyone's got something to get rid of. I have had situations where somebody won something that I have, and I contacted them and got it to them, so one more thing kept out of the landfill. Especially, I'm terrible at selling things. I've got things that I should sell, but I wind up just giving it away because I hate selling things. Alrighty. Well, I think I've pretty much hit most of the high spots for everything today. But okay, here's another little thing, upcycling. I had this cute little bag, and I didn't wear it that much until COVID came along, and I didn't want a big bag that I had to put down. And it was great, except it wasn't big enough. So I took another piece of fabric, and I just attached it to the back with hand stitches, and now it's much more usable for me. So I've upcycled the bag to make it more usable for me. It's not the original bag, but it does what I need.
Could you make a mask out of it? Could you make a mask out of it?
Oh, definitely. You could definitely make a mask out of any of these fabrics. Denim's a little bit heavy to breathe through, but any of the shirt fabrics, I would just recommend if you're making a mask to check the label and make sure it's 100% cotton, because that filters best, especially once it becomes humid. They've got the studies that have shown that. You can use t-shirt fabric behind other fabrics if you wish. But good question, yes. Well, I think that's pretty much everything I've brought today to discuss. If anyone has any questions I didn't cover, or anything that you'd like to ask, please feel free to put a note on the Facebook Live, or check us out. We're also uploading these videos on YouTube at the Spanish Fork Library's YouTube channel. You can always ask questions, and I'll respond as soon as I know about it. So thank you very much for joining us today. Take care.